morning, everybody. It's Jean Truelove here, Jean's Block Party 2019. And this week we are on block number 33. I really do believe I beat you up the last 2 weeks on our card trick and our flower basket block. And a lot of people actually have said the whole purpose of a block party is to progressively get harder. But sometimes in the helter-skelter scheme of life, for a true beginner, that could be a little bit daunting and it could put you off slightly. This week it's not a hard block, but in depth. This is block, I'll get right to it, block number 33. It's a heart, another Truelove heart. We have done a pieced heart. We have done an applique heart. And again, this is another pieced block heart, I should say, just of half square triangles and squares making up the heart shape. Now this heart shape, I have used a bunch of my scraps. I have used, I believe it's about 10 different fabrics. And again, these are just some scraps that I've had left over from all my different projects. Again, if you're using one, now this is where us 1 and 2 color people can come. It's a little bit easier because we just have one color, as it were. My reds and whites, and I used more, let's say, of the burgundies and the creams this week. But if you're having scraps, you may want to make sure maybe it's not too garish, not too glaring, of all different fabrics. Maybe you want to coordinate your scraps. So a little bit of thought to our little heart block. Very simple. Very, very simple. My back looks good. I pressed the center seam open. I pressed the others. Oh, that one's not very good. I pressed the others to the dark, the half square triangles, and then the rows. It's a 1, 2, 3, 4. It's a 16 patch. There are 16 units in this little block here, but it's a 4. It's a 16 unit block, 4 across and 4 down. So that's our little heart. I managed to get a 1/4 inch there, a 1/4 inch there, a 1/4 inch here, if you can see, that will be enclosed in the seam when we put our blocks together, and a 1/4 inch down there. So it's fairly simple, but you're going to be cutting all of your little squares. You are going to be cutting these individually. So that's block number 33. Yeah, that's about all I have to say about that. It's a short tutorial to follow. As I said, the last couple weeks were a little bit in depth. And who knows what's next week. Oh, I do want to, excuse me, I do want to show you, excuse me there. I should have been a bit more prepared. I had made these for my Patreon, my Patron videos, my exclusive videos. I'll just give you a little bit of a heads up. If you want to see this tutorial, you can go on www.patreon.com Jean Truelove /JeanTruelove123. I'll put that down there, and they're for exclusive videos. This is a insulated, fully insulated with silvered fabric curling iron or flat iron holder that I have made. The little cords go over there. They're fully insulated if you're traveling, and then they tie up. If you're traveling, you can then you can put your hot iron or your curling iron straight in, because I have quadruple insulated this case. There's a small one and then there's a larger one. And when I do my videos on my Patreon account, I put the videos up, and then after several weeks, I pull out of the hat somebody's name who will actually be sent the little things, the little tutorials. So 2 people who've been kind to contribute to me to keep my YouTube channel going on Patreon will be receiving my little handy dandy flat iron holders, completely insulated. And I was thinking, if you want to go to you have to become a patron to see the tutorials, but these would be excellent for taking little travel irons, because they're fully insulated. You can put something hot into this. So anyway, that's my Patreon account. I appreciate all the folks here who are supporting me that way to keep me going, because as I was saying, YouTube has changed its stuff, and it's not quite worth it. But it is if I have some other people who really show their monetary appreciation. I really appreciate that. Appreciate. So thank you so much. This is block number 33, our little heart block. And I hope you enjoyed this week, folks. Okay, thanks a lot. See you, bye. This is going to be block number 33. I think I beat you up the last couple weeks with my card trick and my flower basket block. But this is a simple, fairly simple heart block, which I am going to be doing here. Hopefully you'll have seen it. And this is what it comprises of. I have my heart block. We've done a applique and we've done a pieced block, and this is just a half square triangles and squares. So for this block, the background I'm using this small cream and dark dot that reads almost white from a distance, as you can see. My background reads a neutral. So this is fabric A. You're going to be wanting to cut 4 3¼ inch squares from your background, and then you're going to be cutting 2 2¾ inch squares from our background A. Now I've not put, as you know, I always put the fabrics here. I've not done that because I can show them here. You're going to be making this you're going to be using up a lot of your scraps, hopefully, that you have. So I've done this block in assorted colors. You're using at least 10, maybe 10 or 12 different colored fabrics here. About 10 different fabrics. So for fabric B, for my half square triangles, you're going to be cutting 4 3¼ inch squares. Okay, that's going to correspond with our 4 3¼ inch background squares. Very simple block this week, but it's basically a 16 patch. We've been doing 9 patches. Basically, this is a 16 patch, 4 across and 4 down. And then you're going to be needing, again, for fabric C, for more of our patchworky patchwork heart, you're going to be needing 6 2¾ inch squares. So I have 6 2¾ inch squares. I don't know why these turned out dark and they turned out sort of medium and that's sort of light. So I don't know how it's going to turn out. I think it's going to turn out pretty. But then we're going to be making, now what we're going to be doing is, I'll do it right here. We are going to be making our traditional, put my fabric C away and grab my fabric. We're going to be grabbing our fabrics B and A, which are the 3¼ inch squares. Okay. Now I'll do it on the back of the darker one. You can do it on the back of the darker one or the light. What we're going to be doing is, as we've done a dozen times before, in this method we're going to be making our half square triangles the traditional way of making 2 at a time. Okay, last week in our flower block we actually cut our pieces apart, but this week we're going to be making 2 at a time, which we've done before. Again, when you go to mark this with your marker, you want to put your ruler on the other, like sort of line them up on your line, on your ruler here, your mat, and then you want to put your ruler just slightly inside the diagonal so that your marker pen goes from the diagonal point to the diagonal point. So we're going to do that on all 4 of our darker pieces. It doesn't matter, either dark or light. I mark this. So there they are. Now I'm going to take these over to my machine, and what we're going to do is, we've done this again with a pretty side. Oh, that was funny because they're very similar, but this is my pretty side to my pretty side. I'm going to just scratch that together. I'm going to take this over to my machine, and I'm going to be sewing 1/4 inch away from that marked line. I'm going to sew it, I'm going to turn it, and I'm going to come back and sew it 1/4 inch away from that marked line, and then we're going to cut on the marked line. What I'm going to be doing is I'm going to be taking my 4 light and my 4 dark. I've done 2 already. I'm just going to make sure I have the proper side, the pretty side to the pretty side. I'm not using pins. I can just scratch these together. I've cut them all properly. I'm going to scratch them together, each one. And actually I decided to chain piece these. You've now been doing this enough that you know how to chain piece. So what I'm going to do is I'll put them over here. I have my 4 units here, and I'm going to put my presser foot on the left side of my presser foot on that line. And then I know that my needle is 1/4 inch away from that marked line. And just let the teeth do the work. I am going to keep that needle in and then just lift up, scratch them together, and stitch them along like that. Grab my next one that I've been scratched together, lift my presser foot and start it, and just do that one. Now what I will do is I will leave my needle down and I will bring my presser foot up, and what I'm going to do is I'm just going to turn these 4 units. You can see, just pull that there, just pull it out a bit, put it underneath, and then I'm just going to come back on myself and chain piece, putting that on the other side of that marked line. You can see the one just pulls along like a little train. 1/4 inch right away from that marked line. Just line it up. And oops, that's flipped around. There we go. I'm doing it so I can see my marked line. 1/4 inch away from the marked line. And then right off, I'll pinch my fabric and trim them. Then I'm going to just cut these chains apart. Very simple way to make these half square triangles, 2 at a time. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut on the line. I'm going to cut on that line. We've done this loads of times, being careful. I'm going to cut on the line so you don't cut your stitching. Cut on that dark line. Now I have my 8 half square triangles. What I'm going to do is, because I have a light and a dark side, I will go over and set all my seams. I'm then going to pick up, I'm going to take 1 half square triangle and I'm going to pick up the dark side, and then I'm going to roll that. I'm going to press that seam, and then I'm going to roll it up, keeping it nice and square, pressing my seam to the dark side. And then we'll come back and we'll trim them. So I've sewn and I've pressed and I've set my seams on my half square triangles here. And what we want to do now is we're going to be cutting these down. We're going to be cutting these down to 2 3/4. Now they are about 1/8 of an inch too big on each side if you put your line from your ruler going right from corner to corner. But I prefer to you can either cut all the one side off and just cut this little dog ear, but I prefer to sort of center it on the ruler and cut and trim the 4 sides. Makes no difference if you trim, just one little bit or on the block. It's just as long as you trim them down to 2 3/4 of an inch. These were cut slightly bigger. And sewn slightly bigger. So now what I'm going to do is I'm just going to cut these down to 2 3/4 inches. So I've cut down my units, and I have my half square triangles and my fabric C and my fabric A. Now we're going to be putting them together, and here's my design board. I got a really nice suggestion from Linda. Thank you so much, Linda. I was having some trouble seeing my lighter colored backgrounds, so she had suggested you use a piece of felt. I have two pieces of felt. I have a piece of black felt, and I cut down to a piece of brown felt. I didn't have one big one, so I'm just sticking my felt on my design board. Felt works as well as anything, right? And so now you'll really be able to see my fabrics pop. You could use a piece of black batting if you're using all light fabrics for your design board. So now what I'm going to be doing is I'm going to be putting my block together, and it's basically 16 squares we have that are now all 2 3/4 of an inch. So I'm going to be putting these together. There's going to be 4 going across, and we want to stagger them. You want to stagger them, obviously. I'm just going to lay them next to each other right now. They're the two, stagger, I should say, the colors. Let me see. Here's this colorway. Let me just use this little bit of darker colorway. For our heart, maybe I'll use this one now. So there, let me get this right. There's the 2 points of our heart. And then what we're going to do is we're just going to grab one on the outside here, and this one on the outside, and this one, and put that, let me put that over there. This will give a nice, well, again, I have a 2-color quilt block here, but it's going to give a nice contrast. So then we need another half square triangle. Hopefully, yeah, these are in the, sorry, I'll see if in their frame. Yes, yeah, sorry. So now what we want is we want this. Can you see our heart being made? This is a big heart block. And then we want another on this one here, and that one there. And then we have our other half square triangle, which goes that way. Oh, look how pretty. And then we have our 2 background half square triangles from fabric A, which just goes in the bottom here. That goes in the bottom right. And then to make our bottom point, we put our fabrics. Look at that. Look at that. Let me just see if I can get this right. Look at how so pretty. Oh, look at that. And there is our heart block. Another version of a pieced heart block. So pretty. You can mess about if you don't like the configuration. I like this one. Let me just see. Yeah, I like that. I like that a lot. It's sort of my lighters are sort of on the outside, just slightly. I think that's very, very pretty. So now basically this is a 16 patch, and what we're going to be doing is we're going to be sewing the rows together. Okay. Yeah, you're going to be sewing the top row. The units, you're going to be sewing that one to that one, and then that one to that one, and then you're going to be sewing these 2 over to that one. I'll take you over to my machine and I'll demonstrate. So I have my design board here, and it's right in front of me, and as I like to do, move that over here, put my design board down there. As I like to do, I'm going to be just doing 2 units at a time, 2 little blocks at a time, and then I'm going to be putting them back on my design board to make sure I get it right. There's my 1/4 inch seam up there, because this top unit here, these are not nested, they are matched. Have you if you've cut and sewed them properly. Scratch them together. And then I'm going to sew this top row together. And I'll just continue sewing my blocks together. Each row will be slightly different because we both have half square triangles and solid blocks. I've sewn all my units together, my rows, my 4 rows, 1, 2, 3, 4, and I have ironed my rows. I want to show you. I've pressed my middle seam open. My middle seam is open, and then my top row, my seams wanted to go out. My inner row, then I pressed in. My 3rd row I pressed out. My 4th row I pressed in, and that is so we can match the center seam but nest these seams together. So turn them around on your design board, and then by all means, this is where you can use your pins. Where's my pins? Put some pins here. Oh, my pins are all messed up. So what you want to do now is I turn it to my side, and I'm going to stitch my top row to my 2nd. We've all been lovely and matched up. Put that down. And then with my pins, I'm going to find this nested seam here. I'm going to find that nested seam and put a pin in there. Scratch the ends together, and that way my center seam, which has been pressed open, both of them, will match with my 1/4 inch seam. And then this one, this seam here, will nest again. One going one way and one going the other way. Pull them together with a 1/4 inch seam. Come along, take my pin out. This is my open seam. This is my 2nd nested seam. Oops. Get my design board back. Open that up, and let's see, that seam seems to want to go that way. But for now, I'll just lay it on my board there. I have my 1/4 inch there, nice point there. I'm just going to continue. I'll turn it around, and I'll put my bottom seam up to this row, making sure my heart's in the right place. Take my design board away and do the exact same thing. I just trimmed this down, and I went ta-da, and I didn't video it. I thought I videoed it. I just trimmed it down to perfect 9.5 inch square. You didn't see me do that because I forgot to push record. Isn't that funny? But what it was just slightly big on this side. I just had to take off just a few little shreds on this side here, just a few of them, to make it, because I'm very aware of my 1/4 inch there. When this is sewn into the block, I have a 1/4 inch. So it's really very, very nice. It measures 9.5 inches. I just trimmed it up. I forgot to record it. Anyway, so there is my ta-da heart block this week. Very simple. Beat you up the last few weeks, but this one is pretty delightful. Very, very pretty and effective. And when it goes into our blocks, we will now have 3 Truelove heart blocks. Yeah, I love it. I love it. I love it. I love it. So I hope you love it, folks. Block number 33 this week. Wow, using up lots of your scraps. Using up lots of scraps. Make a true scrappy block there. We've been doing a lot of 2-color quilt blocks, but this is, you can be adventurous and make your lovely scrappy heart. Okay, hope you love it, and I will see you next week for block number 34. See you, folks. Bye.